Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, the food show. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm here with Gary Goldman. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Jeffrey. So great to be here. This is the premiere edition, and I am so excited to be here.
I'm pretty excited myself. And, everyone that you've sort of scouted out for the show with my team is sort of food show, a five-star sort of screened. And that's good. And everybody's going to get their own sort of logo that they can take home and put on their business of establishment so people can know that they've been reviewed by us. Our next guest is Ernest Brown from Business Funding Northeast. Welcome, Ernest.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
You want to tell us about your business?
Certainly. I'm in the business of working with companies typically that are trying to get to where they're bankable. And in so doing, I use a lot of creative financing and a lot of alternative assets that people have in order to establish the ability to monetize themselves and grow their business so that they do become bankable.
Because a lot of organizations, I guess, or a lot of restaurants especially, they can't go to a traditional bank for a bank loan. They don't have the same type of assets, correct?
That's correct. I think the restaurant business, food industry in itself is a very challenging area. A lot of people enter it because they're very passionate about food, and then once they're in it, they end up finding out that it's really kind of a cultural type thing to be able to deliver to their clientele, because each person's looking for something a little different. It might be the environment of the restaurant, it might be the culture of the food, it might just be a place that's quiet. You never know. So it's tough.
So, Ernie, take us through a typical restaurant who's going to open. They don't have a particularly large amount of assets. How are they going to fund this dream that they've had for years using your company?
Well, typically when a restaurant is starting up, most of them are self-funded until they get a little bit of history. And then once they have some history, then there's some different resources that'll start working, trying to leverage either their equipment or sometimes their personal assets and try to create funding. I think the biggest thing that a restaurateur needs to be able to do is to remain consistent and build their cash flow, build their customer base. A lot of that requires a lot of training and so forth on their part, and they really have to deliver a consistent product. I think right now, restaurants are extremely vulnerable because of the internet. Somebody comes into your restaurant and they don't like the way they've been taken care of, they can tell the whole world while they're walking to their car. And it's a very vulnerable spot to be in. So a restaurateur has to be very, very careful and make sure that customer is not only happy while they're there, but they're happy when they're leaving. And it's very important for them to do that.
How did you get into this business in the first place? What's your history?
Well, my history, I had a history in the retail business. I had two partners that embezzled, and I nearly lost the house. And what ended up happening is I found out that there was a whole other world out there that was willing to work with people that had difficulties. And once I started seeing that and started to understand it, I became very committed to it because I understood what it was like to be on the short end of that stick.